If you're planning your first trip to China but you only have limited time, everyone will tell you the same two names, Beijing or Shanghai. Beijing has the Forbidden City where Chinese emperors lived for over 600 years, and the Great Wall with a history of more than 2,000 years. Shanghai has the Bund, lined with century-old European-style buildings, and a skyline filled with futuristic skyscrapers reaching into the clouds. So, how do you choose? I spent 3 days comparing these two cities from 8 different angles to help you decide. If you visit Beijing, there's one place you absolutely cannot miss, the Forbidden City. This used to be the home of Chinese emperors for more than 600 years. It has thousands of rooms and honestly, one day isn't enough to see it all. The red walls, golden rooftops, and massive palace halls make the whole place feel like a movie set. But the Forbidden City is more than just a tourist attraction. It's basically Chinese history squeezed into one place. If you truly want to experience ancient Chinese culture, this is one of the best places to start. But if the Forbidden City represents China's past, then Shanghai, that's a whole different chapter. The Bund has all these European-style buildings. I'm talking 100 years old. Back then, this was China's most important financial district. SHBC opened its first bank in China here in 1865. This area was also controlled by the British and French until China gradually took it back in the 1940s. So, if you want imperial history and ancient architecture, go to Beijing. But if you are interested in modern history, global finance, and the coalition between East and West, then Shanghai might be your city. Lujiazui, Shanghai. Guomao CBD, Beijing. So after seeing both, which one do you prefer? Shanghai's futuristic skyline or Beijing's balance between modern China and ancient history? Let me know in the comments. If you don't speak Chinese, Shanghai will probably feel easier. Areas like the Bund, Nanjing Road, and Lujiazui have plenty of English signs. A lot of restaurants even provide English menus. Beijing is still very foreigner-friendly around major tourist attractions, but once you step into local restaurants or hidden alleyways, English becomes much less common. So yeah, the conclusion is pretty simple. If you don't speak Chinese and want an easy trip, choose Shanghai. But if you are okay using translation apps and putting a little more effort, Beijing can be incredibly rewarding. Beijing gives you better value for money. With the same budget, around 300 to 400 RMB a night, you can usually stay in a decent hotel fairly close to the city center in Beijing. In Shanghai, that same price might get you a smaller room or a hotel much further away. Food is similar. In Beijing, a good hot pot meal or Beijing duck dinner usually costs around 80 to 120 RMB per person, and honestly, that's already pretty satisfying. In Shanghai, restaurants in similar category are often 30% to 50% more expensive. But when it comes to luxury, now the opposite is true. Shanghai has more ultra-luxury hotels, rooftop bars, and Michelin-starred restaurants. The city leans more toward international high-end living. So after all this, the choice becomes pretty simple. If you are traveling on a tight budget and want a better overall value, Beijing is probably the better choice. But if a budget isn't a big concern and want a more international luxury city experience, then Shanghai might be exactly what you are looking for. The good news is both cities have excellent subway systems, so transportation itself usually isn't a problem. So how are they different? Size. Beijing is huge, and I mean really huge. The city is more spread out, the attractions are farther apart, and the traffic can get pretty intense. For example, going from the Forbidden City to the Summer Palace might already take close to an hour by subway with multiple transfers. And if you wanted to visit a Great Wall from downtown Beijing, that can easily become a 2-hour trip. Shanghai feels more compact. Places like the Bund, Nanjing Road, Yu Garden, and Xintiandi are all relatively close to each other. In many cases, you can even walk between them. So if you don't want to spend too much time commuting, Shanghai will probably feel easier and more convenient. But if you don't mind longer subway rides and you want to experience more spread out historical landmarks, then Beijing is absolutely worth it. Food-wise, these two cities are completely different. One represents northern Chinese cuisine, the other represents southern Chinese cuisine. Beijing is known for dishes like Peking duck, lamb hot pot, and zhajiang noodles. And then there's something called Douzhi. It's a traditional Beijing drink made from fermented mung beans. Locals absolutely love it. But for many first-time visitors, one sip is enough to create lifelong trauma.
这是什么东西啊？北京豆汁儿，老北京豆汁儿对，传承几百年了。这味道太奇怪了，是吧？
Shanghai, on the other hand, is famous for xiaolongbao, pan-fried buns, crab tofu, and braised pork. The flavors are lighter, sweeter, and more delicate. Beijing food is usually saltier, heavier, and served in big portions. So if you prefer bold northern flavors and hearty comfort food, Beijing might be your city. But if you enjoy refined southern-style cuisine with the sweeter and fresher flavors, then you'll probably love Shanghai. One big advantage of Beijing is what surrounds it. Cities like Tianjin, Chengde, and Qinhuangdao are all easy to reach from Beijing by high-speed rail, anywhere from 30 minutes to about 2 hours away. Each one gives you a slightly different experience of northern China and the atmosphere around the old imperial capital. Shanghai has something completely different nearby, the famous water towns of Jiangnan, places like Zhouzhuang and Wuzhen. It almost feels unreal. And the best part is you can usually get there from Shanghai in about an hour by high-speed train. So if you wanted to explore cities connected to China's imperial history, Beijing is the better choice. But if you want peaceful canals, ancient towns, and classic Jiangnan scenery, then Shanghai is hard to beat. Shanghai is probably the better shopping city overall. Places like Nanjing Road, Huaihai Road, and Xintiandi offer everything from the fast fashion to luxury brands. Beijing also has major shopping areas like Wangfujing, Sanlitun, and SKP, but the atmosphere feels a bit more local. Places like Panjiayuan Antique Market and Silk Street are perfect for treasure hunting, bargaining, and finding souvenirs with strong Chinese characteristics. So if you love luxury brands and modern shopping streets, Shanghai is probably your city. But if you enjoy bargaining, exploring markets, and hunting for unique Chinese-style souvenirs, then Beijing is a lot more fun. Alright, now we've compared Beijing and Shanghai from 8 different angles. So at this point, you'll probably already know which city fits you better. But honestly, if you have around 10 to 14 days in China, you don't really have to choose. You can absolutely visit both. The high-speed train between Beijing and Shanghai only takes about 4.5 hours. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more practical China travel content. I'll see you next video. Bye.